Well, welcome everyone to today's episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want. And we are going to be jumping into the Met Gala. It just happened. So we figured we'd start talking about it because there's a lot to that, right? So, in case we haven't met, my name is Karen. I'm one of the co hosts here.
And my name is Ashley, and I'm excited to kind of dive into this one because it's very controversial and it's very like hot topic too. So,
Yeah, it definitely is a hot topic. I mean, you were just talking about how you've seen a lot of videos on TikTok about it, and
Mhm.
I have too, but I didn't really I'm not really big on what the stars are doing or what's going on with the rich and famous. I never really have been.
Yeah.
But I realized when you said there's a lot of TikToks about the Met Gala right now. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. I have seen a bunch. I even saw a few this morning about it and didn't really think too much of it because I haven't spent too much time in it. But when you brought this topic up, I'm really curious where we go with this because
Mhm.
there's a lot of possibility with it. Plus, it's a really hot topic. So I don't know if you want to dive into
Yeah.
what you've seen and what you've experienced so far with it, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, there's so many routes we can go in. For me, like I am not a celebrity person. I was never the girl that had posters on her walls
Hmm.
of celebrities.
Same.
Never was like that kind of like fan, like ever. And if I saw a celebrity, and I have actually in hotels and airports in my travels, it's never been a big deal to me, kind of
Yeah.
thing. I'm
Same.
just, there's no one that I think I'd be like, oh my God, to meet. And the only thing I actually find interesting is outfits, like the art that goes into them. And I
Mhm.
think that's kind of the cool part of the Met Gala is the art that goes into some of the outfits. Like I loved Elle Fanning's like a bird trailing behind her kind of thing. Like that kind of stuff to me is so cool. I love art, but the parallel that I see on my TikTok, and it might just because of what my For You page is bringing me, is a lot of stuff about like how much the Met Gala costs and how it's comparing it to the Hunger Games. I don't know if those kind of things are popping up on your TikTok too.
I know I haven't seen that
Yeah.
honestly, so but I really don't spend too much time on the ones that talk about the Met Gala because
Mhm.
I really don't, like you said, I've never been a starstruck person. Like you said, I never had posters on my wall of famous people. Like, I really don't know, if there's any one person that I would be like, oh my God, you're so amazing if they were in front of me. Because to me, they put on their pants the same way that I do. They're people just like I am. They've just done things that the world has deemed to be successful. And I'm putting air quotes up because who's to say that one person's success is actually the meter for what we should mark ourselves against? And so that's how I've always looked at famous people, where it's like, well, they're just people too, right? Like they have to eat, they have to poop, they have to pee, like all the things, right? Like they're just people.
Yeah.
So it's just I've always found it funny when people do get starstruck because I don't get it. Like they're a person too. Like they obviously worked really hard in their life to get to where they wanted to go, right? Like they created their reality by either envisioning, like I know one of my favorite stories of manifestation comes from like Jim Carrey, where
Yeah.
he was like in the midst of trying to manifest being a really successful actor, right? And as a result, he wrote a check to himself. What was it, $10 million or something? A $10 million check for himself for services rendered, and he manifested it. But and he literally, like, for what was it, Dumb and Dumber, he ended up getting a check for that $10 million for
Yeah.
services rendered for acting, right? So he created that, and he talks about that in his manifestation journey. And so I don't even know where I was going with that. Completely off topic, I think.
Do
But
you know where Jim Carrey is now? Do you like have you seen any more recent stuff on him?
I've only seen a few things. Like I said, I don't keep up with a
Yeah.
lot of stars. So I'm curious, what
Well,
are you seeing?
Jim Carrey is one of the few that I've like watched a couple of things about.
Mm-hmm.
So he's pulling himself completely out of that industry. He's
Mm-hmm.
now, I don't know about now, but the last time I looked at it, he was an artist and he was focusing on creating paintings, spending time with his family and slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe he won some kind of lifetime achievement award or something like that. And he talks about like how the industry is a joke. And it
Mm.
fits right into this conversation.
Perfect. Yeah.
Because talks about like the money that is spent and how there's bigger issues in the world, and this is where they're putting their money and their time and their effort, and how it's like all this like fallacy. And he really talks about like spiritual awakenings and stuff like that, and conspiracy theories and
Mm.
all the things. And so people have actually started to say like he's going crazy.
Mm.
And but he's a typical one of me.
Yeah, he's a
Like
typical one of us.
very up there in the conspiracy theories. And it's so interesting because he's talking to this one lady that's interviewing him in one of the videos, and he's going off about like how this is stupid, like why are they there? The questions she's asking are so like superficial, and he starts going in depth about stuff, and she's just like, oh my God. Kind of. But
Whoa.
like if you haven't had any kind of spiritual awakening, those things are just like
Jarring.
so out there. And
Hmm.
he's talking, I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And she's looking at him like, you're the craziest person in the world. I'm scared for my life. Get me away from you.
Right, right.
And but yeah, so again, just drawing that parallel. And so the one TikTok video I saw was a guy saying like a Met Gala ticket is $75,000. And that, I
Hmm.
don't know if that's true. That's just what this TikTok video said, but I'm sure it's pricey because
Hmm.
it's like the elite of the elite.
Hmm.
And so he's like, and then the average person needs to make over $100,000 a year to buy a house. And these
Hmm.
people are spending it on a ticket to go
Hmm.
dress up.
Hmm.
And he's like, we're struggling to put food on our tables. And I'm a part of a local moms group
Hmm.
here, like through Facebook. And the amount of people that I see that are like, I have to get rid of my car. I can't make the payments. People that are moms looking to share homes with other moms because they can't afford to live, asking for food, asking for diapers, like the list goes on and on. Like one lady was like, I have to sell all of my like hobby things. Who wants to buy them? Because I don't have the time to play with them because I have to go get a third job because I can't put food on my table.
Hmm.
And so like times are tough. And then we're sitting on our phones, distracting ourselves from the tough times, watching people dress up in like the one lady carrying the $22,000 ice purse.
Hmm.
And she talks about how it's to represent impermanence and how everything fades. And it's like, what a slap in the face
Hmm.
for people that are struggling. Like, you're carrying around $22 that is melting, $22,000 that is melting, and other people are struggling to buy $22 worth of groceries or put $22 worth of gas into their vehicle. And so that's kind of the comparison that people are drawing
Hmm.
on TikTok, so or YouTube, social media in general.
Yeah,
So
social media
yeah.
in general. So, yeah, I have so many thoughts of where I could go with my next words. And I, well, here's the thing, I don't want to sound like insensitive to people at all because I realize like we're all struggling at some point in our life. We have things that come up that can cause us to struggle financially or what have you. But one thing I've learned too is I created it so I can uncreate it, right?
Mhm.
So if I find myself in a place where I am struggling financially, I created that.
Yeah.
I was looking to create something different in my life. And as a result, I started having thoughts and feelings
Hmm.
that are now in vibration with creating that sort of financial situation. So while it's not cool at all that we have things like the Met Gala happening and people are spending however much they are to get into it, and they're the elite of the elite that are getting there. There's something they did in their brain. There's some sort of thought and feeling that they continued to create that we all have access to. Like, that's the thing. We all have access to the ability to think and feel on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're looking at these people that are going to the Met Gala, my question is for myself, because I speak to myself when I say this stuff too. Am I looking at them going, God, that'll never happen to me, or there's envy or frustration or anger? Or am I going, wow, it's cool that they can experience things like that. I wonder what I can create. There's a different frequency when we're looking at people. Now, that's one way, like that's one avenue to think about too. Now, the other avenue to continue to think about is, what in the world caused us to create something like the Met Gala where people are spending $22,000 for an ice purse that is going to simply melt away? Like, that is also ridiculous to me as well, right? So I hopefully people can kind of like draw the parallel here of what I'm trying to say, because there is a polarity in what I'm saying.
Yeah. And like that's like the real difference between the Hunger Games and our reality is in our reality here we're all equal. Like there's very few places in the world where I would say there is not equal opportunity, like when you're born in a place of war and that kind of stuff. But then there is still, I don't know enough about this, so I'm talking very ignorantly. There is still opportunities for fugitives to flee war impacted countries. I don't know enough about that to really speak to that, but in the Hunger Games, you're born in your district and that is your district kind of thing. There's not really opportunity to change that. Whereas in our world, I do think that we do choose where we're born. We do choose our life, like you said, and we all have the same equal opportunities as well. And just because someone is spending $75,000 to go to the Met Gala does not mean that they're happy either.
Right, exactly. Oh
So,
God, yeah. We could go down that road for a long time too.
yeah, and so I think that's where it's like there's so many different paths to take. Like, and I was talking to Derek about more the economic state of like, am I now a person that's leaning more towards socialism? And we could talk about that. And then we could talk about the fact that, like, really, this is spiritual warfare, This is, and so really the conversation needs to be around awakening, right?
I honestly think the conversation needs to be around love.
Yeah.
Like that is like awakening is definitely like the path to it. Like that's the thing. Like, yes, let's awaken and actually start to focus on love, because when we ask ourselves questions like, okay, if I am spending $22,000 on an ice purse, nobody said that you can't, right? No one says you can't. Are you actually also looking at your money and going, how can I support other people in my endeavors as well? And really, supporting other people could mean that you're walking down the street and you're handing out food to somebody that's homeless, right? Like I there are so many ways to go at how love looks. But the question is, if you, and I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody how they can spend their money, because it's your money. You created it. You've literally like created that thought and the feeling that created that money, that abundance in your life, right? Anybody can do that. The thing that happens when we step into more of a spiritual awakening mindset that goes towards love is we start to affect other people around us. Whether that's through abundance, whether that's through time, whether that's through whatever we have to give to our
Yeah.
fellow human being or even animals. Let's be honest. I was reading the book The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. Or wait, is it in that book? I can't remember if it's in that book or another one that I read recently. No,
Mhm.
it was actually in another book I was reading about a psychic medium, right? I can't remember the name of it right now, but in this book, this psychic medium is talking about how she met this pair of people that showed love, not necessarily to human beings, but to all animals, like dogs, cats, yes, but then like even bumblebees, right? And so as a result of them showing so much love to these animals, more and more animals started coming to them, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's really at its core, that's what law of attraction is, right?
Yeah.
Your thoughts and your feelings in this case with these people was around love for animals and
Yeah.
realizing that animals and us were no different. We came from that same source. We came from that same source energy, right? And so showing that love to even your fellow animal continues to attract more of those animals to you.
Mhm.
So it's just at the end of the day, there's, like I said, there's so many ways to go at this. But the question is, instead of getting so focused on um, the injustice of it all, absolutely, that's there. What if we got more focused on us focusing on love and growing love for ourselves and that becoming so contagious
Yeah.
that other people around us, even like say you or I were in a circle of elite people, because we have so much love, it becomes so contagious to
Yeah.
those elite people that are going to the Met Gala.
Mhm.
What would that change in our world? Like, that's my question. What
Yeah.
if we stepped into that mode where we just had so much love that it was so attractive and other people were like, damn, she looks so good. I want to be just like her. And that really does change the world around you at the end of the day.
Well, and that's why this conversation I find is so interesting because I can be the devil's advocate all day long with this one. Like,
Absolutely.
is it injustice? Like,
Mm-hmm.
is it wrong? Is it not fair? Like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously they created it in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And then there's that scale up constantly. Okay, so I have a car, a truck, two campers, a house,
Right.
like is that me being unjust because
Right.
I have more than someone else? And so there's so many things like that where it's like, okay, so what is right and wrong? And that's where
Right.
we get fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why this conversation is so interesting because it does. Like you look at it and it's like, oh yeah, I can see all the parallels to the Hunger Games and how our world is so messed up. But then that's the whole real spiritual warfare is
Mm-hmm.
they want you to get distracted by money
Yes.
because it's
Mm-hmm.
not about money, it's about time. And we've talked about that on other podcasts too, where the real fight is to not feel like we have all the time in the world or no time at all, but just to be.
Mm-hmm.
And time is very fluid around us and just being and not being distracted by our screens or by the noise or the next distraction that the elites or the government or whatever it is does and be that beacon of love. Because that is the spiritual warfare. Like, I don't know if you want to go down this rabbit hole, but like the whole matrix of it is like where there's people in quotations that are trying to absorb and suck all the good energy out of the world. And so basically they want to keep everyone distracted
Mm-hmm.
enough, and they not necessarily meaning celebrities, also just
Mm-hmm.
want to say that,
Yeah.
um, suck all the energy out of the world. And so if you're too loving and too positive and too bright, then you are a threat
Mm-hmm.
because then you start to infect the other people around you in that positive way and spread that. What they're really looking for is that like mediocre, like just slightly above happy, positive love that they can feed off of and suck out of you. And that's where you have a lot of people that, like, if you are someone that's usually positive and happy, like obviously we all have our days,
Mhm.
and you feel like there's people in your life that are just energy suckers and they just take and take and take. That's one of the aspects of that spiritual warfare, where there's people that literally just feed off of other people. And it's a much bigger scale when it comes to like the spiritual warfare that is our world. So,
Yeah. And I think that that what you just said is a huge reason that we should always be looking at our circle. Who's in
hmm
our circle? And
yeah,
how are we feeling when they're in our circle?
yeah,
Is it actually feeding us, or is it taking away from us? And
yeah,
so we, once again, it comes down to choice.
yeah,
Always, whether we want to make a lot of money, whether we want to have things in life, whether we want to love other people, it always comes down to a choice.
hmm
Do we look at that person and go, you know what, like, you're actually not in vibration with what I'm looking to create in my life? You're
yeah,
actually not feeding me. You're
hmm
actually taking away from my light. And sometimes that can mean family. That's the hard thing.
sure.
Like, that's one of the hardest things to look at in your life, because family, you would think, should be adding to you, should be continuing to fill your cup. But for many of us, we have to look at our family and go, you know what? Actually, I need to create boundaries so that I don't fall into a trap where I get sucked into giving you all of my good energy.
Yeah.
So I think of a friend I've had for years, right? She has really struggled with her relationship with her mom. There's a lot of toxic emotional abuse that has come from her mom. And
hmm
through the years, she's gotten better at dealing with her mom, but she still has a lot of her energy is sucked to her
hmm
mom. And every time she talks about it, I'm like, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, you cannot change her. The
Yeah.
only thing you can do is choose when you realize that she's in your head. The only thing you can do is choose to say, no, thank you.
hmm
Even if she's not in the room, even if she's not talking to you, you can say no, thank you to those thoughts that maybe she's said to you in the past. You can say,
Yeah.
no, thank you. That's not for me. That's not actually building me up. And I
hmm
can choose to think and feel in a way that actually does fill
Yeah.
my cup. And
Yeah.
so for like people that find themselves in that situations, it's okay to say, I love that you're my mom, or that you're my dad or my brother or my sister or whatever. It's okay to say, I love you for the fact that you are this person in my life, but you're also really toxic, and I cannot continue to put myself in that situation
Yeah.
because it ends up taking all of my good light. And so saying who's in my circle and letting go of the people that are in your circle that just don't fit anymore. And a lot of times for me, what I find is that the people that don't fit in my circle somehow find their way out regardless.
Yeah.
Like, even if I say no thank you, or if I don't say no thank you, like somehow they find their way out regardless. I think of a friend that I had years ago. I look back at that friendship, and there was a lot of criticism, judgment, that kind of thing. And it came to a head at a certain point in the relationship where finally we are no longer friends anymore. And I look at that and I'm like, I actually go, thank you,
Yeah.
because I didn't need to be in that relationship at all, because there was a lot of judgment, criticism of other people,
hmm
and that gets infectious to me. And so I don't need that in my life. And so I look at it and I'm like, thank you. So
Yeah.
for me, it's always worked out that way, where people tend to show themselves out, but
hmm
sometimes that's not what happens with family. Sometimes family is still
Yeah.
there. So finding
Yeah.
that boundary is important.
Well, I find that there's like two different pieces to that. So I think that there is like the natural breakup of
Mm.
relationships of any kind, even workplace relationships
Mm-hmm.
or workplace jobs can be of that because there's that disalignment. So as you're raising your vibrational frequency, you're going to fall out of alignment with people that there's nothing actually wrong with them or bad with them.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a breakup that is a friendship or partner that is very amicable, very smooth. Maybe sometimes it's not, but usually it's pretty like clean cut, not a lot of drama.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because you had a natural like frequency change and you fell out of alignment and so you naturally just start drifting apart. The spiritual warfare people are literally like in your life to feed off of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like for me with my partner's ex, like if I tell you one story, it's like I can go on for hours of stories about her literally trying to make my life a living hell, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And that is spiritual warfare. And that is someone that is trying to dim my light, someone
Mm-hmm.
that is trying to feed off of me.
Right.
And there's going to be people in your life that are temporarily like that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, like when I met my partner, he was in this place where he was just starting to go through like an awakening where he was like, I know there has to be a better way, but everything he's ever been around has been toxic and people sucking the life and out of him and all that kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so when he met me, he drained my energy
Mm.
completely. Like it
Yeah.
was definitely a very much take situation. And I can go into that in more depth, but anyways, it was him feeding off of the positivity. And he literally would say to me, like, I've never been around someone that has this same outlook on life as you before,
Mm.
ever. And it opened up a whole new door for him that he was searching for,
Mm-hmm.
but I was that first person that ever was around.
Yeah.
And so now he's not sucking that life out of me. He met mentors, he read books, and he started to light his own candle,
Yeah.
turn
Yeah.
on his own light bulb. So you will have some people in your life too that initially, like even with
Mm-hmm.
my children, him and his kids, they definitely sucked a lot of life out of me in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose to allow it. And then eventually I started to set up boundaries
Mm-hmm.
with all of them of and like spiritual boundaries of okay, now it's your turn. I've given you the tools. It's your turn to light your own light. And they all have. And they're in their own journey now, their own awakening, their own lighting their own path kind of thing. Um so there's lots of variations of all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah, but I think that's like the really hard part is discerning that. Usually when someone is sucking your light, it's someone that's really hard to get out of your life. And like for me, my children's mother,
Mm-hmm.
like not an easy person to cut out of your life. For some people, it is often a parent, or parents, or siblings, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
or someone that you bonded with significantly before you went through your awakening. So like a really, really close friend or maybe your spouse, because you met them, you bonded with them, whether it was love or trauma, and then you go through your spiritual awakening, you're like, holy shit, this person is just sucking everything out of me. And that's where Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich says the most important person you pick in your life, or the most important decision you make in your life is who you partner up with.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's huge. There's so many aspects to that. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, like the most important person that you pick is the person you decide to partner up with. And I 100% agree with that because you're always, not always, but you're in their energy field a majority of the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like you, even if you're not awake, you're sleeping next to them, or maybe you're not sleeping next to them, but a lot of times if you're married to someone, you're sleeping next to them, and so you're
Yeah.
in their energy field for I don't know 8 hours a night. Let's just say that, right? So that affects you
Yeah.
regardless. So
And you're gonna have cords connecting you to them, even if you're not in you're the same house and all that kind of stuff. So,
mhm.
and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but man, we were talking about the Met Gala, and here's where we got.
Well, I think the whole all of it comes down to we can point fingers and be like it's the celebrities
Right,
elitist
right.
fault,
Mm,
and we can point those fingers, but at the end of the day we create our life. And I think one of the most like easy ways to like draw like a conclusion or parallel, I don't know the right way to say it, is when people win the lottery or are gifted large sums of money, they usually end up right back where they were.
yeah,
I know for me, the people in my life, like that have had won the lottery or large inheritances, it's all gone.
yeah.
It doesn't stick.
Hmm.
And it's because you're not an energy match. And if you're not an energy match, somehow you manifested that or got lucky. I'm not really sure like the whole ins and outs to inheritances or lottery wins or any of that kind of stuff. But if you're not going to raise your frequency level, you're gonna have nothing to show for it. Like,
Well, Kevin Trudeau actually talks about this. We've talked about him a
yeah,
few times.
yeah,
If you haven't checked out his what's it called? Your Wish is Your Command. If you haven't checked that out, you should absolutely. You can listen to it for free on Spotify. It's a
yeah,
must. But he actually
hmm
talks about that very thing
hmm
where if people say we'll make the parallel with business, right? Say you
yeah,
like rise really high in business, you get to a point and then suddenly you crash. What
yeah,
happened? Like you'd been making a lot of money and then suddenly there's a crash.
yeah,
It's like in his opinion, which I think his opinion is I definitely think he spent a lot of time looking into the law of attraction and manifestation. And I do think that he is a very solid, credible person to listen to when it comes to this. But the
yeah,
reason that that crash happens is because you had this level of belief, you'd created this level of belief, and you were thinking and feeling a certain way in order to create that manifestation of that successful business or winning the lottery, whatever it is that you want to put in there, right? You
yeah,
created that with your thoughts and feelings. So the crash happened because you got to a certain point and now your thoughts or feelings are going, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it. And suddenly you go down because you're no longer thinking about how good it feels to have made that much money. You're
hmm
no longer feeling how good it feels to make that much money. Now you're focused on don't lose it, which has a very low vibration.
yeah,
That vibration you're sending out is now attracting you towards lose it, lose it, lose it, lose it. And so you've now gotten to this crashing point. So it once again comes back to that thinking and feeling. What are we thinking and feeling on all times? And
yeah,
it's not to say that if you have a moment, because listen, I've had moments where I notice myself thinking the opposite of what I want to create. It happens to all of us, even the elite people in the world that have created wild amounts of money. The difference is how long do you want to think and feel that way?
yeah,
Because if you get to a certain level of success, having a day where you're like, oh my God, what if I lose it all? And then, like, the next day waking up and going, that was silly that I was so focused on that. What was that about? I'm going to start thinking and feeling the way that I want to start thinking and feeling. That one day isn't going to, in my opinion, completely ruin everything for you. But
yeah,
it's about breaking that cycle, breaking that habit of the thought of, oh my God, I'm going to lose it all, and
hmm
changing it to, wait a minute, it actually feels really good to experience life where I've created so much abundance in my life.
yeah,
So I personally think that like someone like Kevin Trudeau does such a great job of answering that question that you just brought up of, well, why do they make all this money and then suddenly lose it? It's
hmm
because now they're focused on something else. They were focused on the feeling, the thought and the feeling of what it would feel like or what kind of like things would happen in their life. They were so focused on that. Suddenly they received it, but they haven't programmed themselves enough to stay in that wavelength of
Mm-hmm.
thinking and feeling that good. And
Yeah.
so as a result, they have this massive crash. And one thing that I see in my life is that I'm always like, I'll have good days, I'll have bad days, I'll have good days. We're always going up and down, right? The
Yeah.
question is, are you going up and down an upward trajectory? Or
Mm-hmm.
are you going up and down in a downward trajectory? Because we're always, in my opinion, we're always either going up or we're always going down. Whether it's like, because like I said, we're going to continue to have those mountains and peaks as we're either going up, or we're mountains and peaks as we're going down.
Yeah.
So there's a
And
different.
that's, yeah, and that's neurology. Like there's neurologists that show
Yep.
literally your brain connecting to build healthy branches and positive branches or negative branches. And
Yes.
so whether you're going up and down, like you said, on that roller coaster, are you building the healthy branches or the negative branches?
Yes.
And a lot of us have our screens open and our life in distraction mode.
Mm-hmm.
We learned coping mechanisms as a young child to distract from the pain,
Yeah.
and we do not have enough self-awareness to know if we're going up or going down. And the only time we pay attention to our thoughts are when we're consciously thinking about the positive things we want to manifest. And so then we're like, oh yeah, we got it. We're thinking positively. I had so many positive thoughts and I was doing awesome. And while, yes, you're only actually paying attention when you're consciously thinking about it, because we haven't actually dealt with all the self-sabotage
Mm-hmm.
and childhood coping mechanisms. And so you don't even know, you aren't even aware of what your brain is actually doing 99% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a huge aspect that
Yep.
most people have no awareness to.
Yeah. And the moment that you create awareness around those
Mhm.
negative thoughts is when your life completely changes. And
Oh,
I
for
can
sure.
say this from experience.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is that we're all wired this way, but
Yeah.
and this is also a scientific fact as well. 70% of the time, we're actually spending more time in a negative thought than we are in a positive thought. Okay. 70%. That's a big number. So the
Yeah.
moment that you start noticing that 70% and you start going, wait a minute, I can stop this. I can choose to continue to think this way, or I can do things in my life to create new thoughts and feelings. That's when your life completely changes. That's
Yeah.
when that 70%, the balance, the scales get tipped, and you
Yeah.
start to go, nope, don't want to do that anymore. I want a different life.
Yeah.
So, looking at the Met Gala, how are we thinking and feeling
Mhm.
towards either that event, the people that go to that event, whatever's going on around that? What's our thoughts and feelings, and what do we want to dwell on instead?
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Completely agree.
yeah. So with that, I think we did a good one on this one. We weren't completely sure where we were going to go with it, but I feel like this was a really good way to kind of go with this. So with that, I think we're going to call TMI Advice You Didn't Want a wrap for today. If you are watching us on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast host, go ahead and give us a 5-star, because we'd love to hear more from you. So with that, we are going to call TMI Advice You Didn't Want a wrap for today.